So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to start our third and last session of the Policy SIG. So before going there, those who just joined now to update that we have earlier two sessions. So first one with mostly the informational presentations, and in the last sessions we have discussed two policy proposals, and we couldn't reach the consensus in those policies. And in this session, we'll be discussing these three proposals actually, that Prop 127, changing maximum delegation size of 103/8 IPv4 address pool to a /23. So the 103 pool is reducing, so to extend the life of 103 pool, there's a proposal, and by Ching-Han Ku, Apta Waiti, and Yang-Shi Wang. And then Prop 128, multi-homing not required for ASN, by Jordi. And last one is abolishing the waiting list for unmet IPv4 address request, IPv4 request, by Apta Siddiqui. So this proposal we'll be discussing. Before going that, I just want to remind you that those who are participating remotely can use Comfort to participate in the consensus process. And oops. And I'll request Barton to call the next speaker and for the discussing the policy session 3, that is Prop 127.
Is Yang-Shi in the room? I think, yeah, that's in there. Okay. Shall we ask him to move to the... Yang-Shi, if you want to come to the stage for your proposal, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tim Wang from APNIC. Today we have a proposal 127, the change maximum delegation size of the 103/8 IPv4 address pool to a /23. So this proposal is to change the maximum size of the IPv4 address delegations from the APNIC 103/8 IPv4 address pool to a /23. The current final /8 allocation policy requires that the current minimum delegation size for IPv4 is a /24, and each APNIC account holders is only eligible to receive IPv4 address delegation totaling a maximum /22 from the 103/8 address pool. So, but the number of the list pool is less and less. So, and it's predicted that the list pool will be exhausted in 2020. And the list table is remaining addressed in the APNIC 103/8 pool for these 3 years. So the remainder of the 103/8 pool is around 3,896 Class C, and the IPv4 delegation. Below are 3 tables for the IPv4 delegation from the 103/8 pool with the different size by year. and we have some prediction. So the first one is if we with the /22, it should be around 2020 will be exhausted. But if we decrease the delegation size to /23, it may be prolonged to the 2022. And if with the /24, we predict it could be 2026 for the IPv4 103/8 be exhausted. So we want to reducing the maximum delegation size for this address. The pool can prolong the exhaustion, the time of the list 103/8 pool. And some newcomers of APNIC account holder will have the benefit in this period of time. So new company, they can obtain some IPv4 address space in the APNIC service region. So they don't need to trade for the address space, can make the preparation for the subsequent IPv6 migration. So it's recommended that the number of assigned IPv4 addresses in final /8 can be reduced from a maximum of /22 to /23. We propose the /23 is important because some new ISP, they could use /24 for the internal infrastructure and another /24 for their customer assignment and NAT for the IPv6 transition. So the advantage of this proposal, we allow a greater range of network to access the resource in the final /8. And this proposal extends the maximum possible total number of the network can benefit from the final /8 pool from around 18,000 to around 16,000 to around 18,000 networks. So we can provide a small amount of the IPv4 to be available for networks, developing economies, and so on. So making the transition to IPv6 for many years to come. And there are no disadvantages are foreseen for this proposal. And this impact on the resource holder, because it's reduced the maximum size of the delegated address to the APNIC member during this final /8 phase. So it also will affect NIR members in the same way as APNIC members. So it impact both APNIC member and the NIR members. Okay, thank you.
Any comments or questions from the floor?
This is Guo Yu from Taiwan. I'm neutral in this proposal, but I like to mention about that is when we are looking at IPv4 location, I think we should not just look in the single angle just on the IPv4. I think this is at the same time you need to also talking about, that is always Guo Wei is not George on the script, okay? Okay, and anyway, so I mean, you also need to take a look about the IPv6 growth, because if you look at the global trend, the IPv6 actually in the last year, I think more than 15 countries, the IPv4, the accessibility is already reachable, is already up to the 30% last year, more than 15 countries. So maybe by end of this year, 2019, this number can be double or maybe something more than that. In any case, that means IPv6, if let's go to a certain percentage of the, the community need to thinking about that because IPv4 address sooner or later will be exhausted, no matter how. Even you cut into the Class C or half of the Class C, still going to run out. So the way is how to push in the IPv6 to convert it earlier. I think that would be much better for the whole community. So in general, I think, as I say, I'm neutral, but I think it's when we see the IP address allocation, we should not just look at IPv4. We also need to look about what is the IPv6 development, and also the networking, in the long term of the future, what we want. I think the community, we might be need to think about, for example, the Indian doing very well, more than 40%, and might be because if there's continue going, you'll make a lot of newcomers, they're coming out, actually they are not going to deploy the purely IPv6, they are still doing the IPv4 and then go on the translation, go on the tunnel to all do the kind of the two networking coexist, I think that's the more factor we need to think about that. So, I mean, I'm neutral in this proposal.
Can I? Rajesh Charya from India, speaking of my personal. While I understand that the importance of IPv6 because the IPv4 is getting exhausted and the future is IPv6, I'm coming from that country where one of the operator is the largest IPv6 user in the world. And the other operators are also following them because our target for penetration of the broadband and the internet is too much given by our Honorable Prime Minister under Digital India campaign. But still, before that, around 8 years back, when I moved a proposal for reducing the allocation size from /21 to /22, very frankly, at that time, in my mind, there was no such IPv4 exhaustion and IPv6 takeover. At that time, my objective was why we are wasting our IPv4 by unnecessarily allocating them /21, while those people are requiring /22. But before that, I have proposed for /23, but the community has accepted /22. Still now with the objective that all the newcomer startups has got the financial problem. They require /24 minimum for starting their network, starting their project. So in my opinion, for increasing the period of exhaustion, we should decrease the size of allocation. The gentleman is proposing /23, I'm in the opinion of /24, so that at least 5 to 6 years, the newcomer will get the jack of getting the IPv4 and starting their network, because if they, from the day one, if they will be coming to the IPv6, I think into this event area, we are not getting the proper IPv6 or proper sites of the IPv6, even in the Korea, where we think that Korea is the advanced, developed into the internet. So these teething problems still are there into the IPv6 about some of the applications, some of the site, and startup require a support. In my opinion, we should decrease this size to /24 so that startup should get a support from the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Izumi Okutani, speaking as an individual. I understand the problem and the intention of the proposal. So in terms of the direction, I support it. And I also see the needs, which was shared by Rajesh, that people need the minimum IPv4 to be able to use IPv4 and for the two networks to communicate with each other. So it's important that this kind of V4 address pool remains available to a wide number of networks that is in needs. And I think it's worth noting that people don't just keep on asking for and coming back for IPv4 without transitioning to IPv6. So I don't know if it's,
Most probably she wants to talk something. You should allow her. She's the youngest participant here in the room.
Sorry about the interruption. So where was I? Yeah. So I think it's quite important that rather than just simply continuing to give IPv4 without, announcing the needs to transition to IPv6, I think we should do this in parallel. So I don't know if we should put that in the criteria as in the ARIN region, but at least when the secretariat, the host master, distributes this address space, maybe there should be some comment encouraging that, hey, you should consider transitioning to IPv6 rather than keep on relying on IPv4. So that's my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Aftab?
Yes, just to add to what Mr. Rajesh was saying, that one of the biggest operators in India is using IPv6. I mean, they have around 300 million subscribers, all on IPv6. But I need to clarify one more thing. The same operator is the biggest holder of IPv4 addresses as well. So it has nothing to do with whether you get IPv4 or not. If you are interested in V6, you will deploy it. But being the co-author and a very strong supporter of this proposal, I would like to say that this is the minimum we can give to any new entrant to make sure that they can progress and transition into V6. And what Izumi said, I absolutely agree. A couple of years back, when I was part of the operator, and we got the address space, a new member, APNIC hostmaster came back and said, well, we gave you V6, you never advertised it. So it was a good question from the hostmaster asking, well, you asked for V6, why you're not using it? I'm not sure what's happening right now, but that check or inquiry should be there to make sure that the intentions which we show while applying for the resources is actually real, and we are following up with that. Sure. Thank you.
Kenny was first.
I'm first? Oh, sorry.
Kenny Huang, Executive Council Member of APNIC and CEO of APNIC. Personally in favor of this proposal, and besides, when we consider the requirement of this proposal, we also need to consider the time requirement, because the remaining final slash rate probably lasts for less than 18 months. And if we cannot make a decision at this meeting, probably we don't have time to make another decision for the future. Thank you.
Guang Liangpan from APNIC Secretary. Just respond to Izumi's comment. The APNIC host master is always ask the new member, do they need IPv6 when they request for IPv4? In process their new request. If they only ask for V4, and they will always ask them, do you also want V6 as well? So this is in the practice. First.
Jordi Palet. I have confronted views on supporting or not the policy proposal. I am going to actually support it, but I think it's more like a kind of giving the community the feeling that with this policy they have more opportunities, and of course they don't need to go to the secondary market. But the reality is that, and somehow answering to previous people in the mic, the reality is that even if you deploy IPv6, depending on how you deploy that, you still rely on IPv4. That's basically true if you use dual stack or carrier grade NAT. I mean NAT 444, okay? There are technologies today like 464XLAT that require much less public IPv4 addresses for the same number of users. And this is what the people need to technically consider when deploying IPv6. So yes, I am for this policy proposal, but it's not the real solution. The real solution obviously is deploy IPv6 and not think anymore in dual stack, neither in carrier grade NAT.
Thank you. Joy is coming.
Hi, this is Joy Chen from Taiwan, TWNIC, and I want to state the position that in supporting this policy, because I think that there's many different usage that people can use, whether that's IPv4 or 6, but because we are in this policy SIG and because we care so much about this, I think the timing is just about right to do so. However, the utilization and the way that people will be able to use it could be something that's more creative in the future, but the timing is right for now to do so, and this is one of the major reasons I want to give my thoughts to be shared here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pankaj Chaturvedi, ISPI. I support this proposal because what has been shown here is really scary. That the new operators, if they want to have a license or they want to roll out, if they don't even get a single, /24 or a /22 block, how they are going to run their networks. So we really support this proposal. And of course, we also request APNIC, Apricot, and the other NOGs to quickly teach the operators and the individuals and the enterprise how to have a quick rollout of the V6, because that's the only way people would start adapting. Thank you.
Thank you. Rajesh?
Rajesh Charya, speaking of my personal. By getting IPv4 exhausted very early, like the way we are just issuing the IP addresses to all the allocatee, what I feel is that we are supporting IPv4 market and encouraging newcomers who are very short of funds with them to buy from the local market, and the cost of those IP is going beyond $20 nowadays. And if they will buy such a costly IP in the beginning of their project will not get startup. So in my opinion, I should again strongly suggest that we should reduce the size to /24, and at least we should discourage this IPv4 market where the prices are growing day by day. 3 years back, it was $8 to $9, and today I have heard that it is going beyond $20, and into the forward buying and selling, it is $50.
So I just like my comment that I think we have in a situation, we have three options really. One is stick on to the present policy, /22, and wait for IPv4 to finish. And there is a second option, adopting the policy and extend the life for some time. And there is a third proposal coming up that reducing /23 to /24 so that we can extend the life a little longer than that actually. So I don't see any other option other than that. Somebody want to make a comment probably.
Simon from Bangladesh. With my small operational experience, I support this policy because in so many countries we have multi-homing situation. So with /24, if APNIC give any /24 any operator or any new enterprise, they cannot do multi-homing. So /23 is the ideal situation for multi-homing situation. So I really do support this thing. Another thing is that if it's it will push the community to use IPv6 after like giving reducing from /22 to /23. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Yep, that will be the last comment. Thanks.
Thank you.
Go for it.
Brajesh Jain. Actually, ASOAC chair directed me to say so and support it, so I support it. Thank you.
Hi, just Judith Vasquez, PH Colo. Just a comment and a correction. We can do multi-homing with the /24. And given that, given the conditions in India and even in the Philippines, a /24 would be beneficial to APNIC membership in growing membership size and inclusiveness in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last one.
Yes, Aftab Siddiqui. Just speaking as a co-author of this one, I agree with Judith on one point. Yes, you can do multi-homing. Of course, there are caveats attached to that, keeping a /24. But I absolutely do not agree that we have to be concerned about growing the membership. This is not our... we don't have to discuss about growing the membership here. Our criteria is to make sure whoever is getting the resources can utilize it in a best and proper manner. The second point is, as I say, /23 is legitimately the best option. We consider /24 is just too small. We heard the same opinion from JPNIC community saying that /23 is too small as well. But for me, /23 is the best solution at the moment. Even if we go with /23, it will increase the membership to multiple thousand. I mean, just imagine, it will just double it what we are going to do in next 18 months. So if growing the membership is a concern, well, we are doubling it. And running an operations is concerned, I think /23 is the best possible solution.
Thank you, Aftab. So we're going to do the consensus call now. Is ready? No, it doesn't say on my thing. No, it's not. Make current. Now it is. So Confer is online. You can vote. You can express yourself. Can we have the screen with the current, please? Thank you. And from the ground.
Sunny from APNIC. So I see mixed opinions and comments. So the first question is, should we actually change the allocation size? That's first question. Second is, should it be 23 or 24? So,
yeah, the proposal was for a /23. So the idea was to see if we got a consensus from the room with a /23, and then if it doesn't reach consensus, it will have to go back to the mailing list to discuss between the /23 and the /24. So from the room, who strongly support this proposal? Thank you. Who support the proposal? Who is neutral? Thank you. Who oppose the proposal? And who strongly oppose this proposal? So this proposal has reached consensus. Congratulations. Next on the agenda, the proposal 128. I got the wrong one. Oops, sorry. Multi-homing not required for ASN. With Jordi.
Again. Okay, so again, not going into the details of every slide, we have introduced them, or we have introduced this policy proposal this morning already. Basically, what happens is that when we have developed this policy proposal, and also when a modification was done through proposal 114, if I recall correctly the number, the objective of that modification was, hey, do we really need multi-homing for someone to get an ASN? And then going to the policy proposal itself, what happens is that the existing text is saying it's currently multi-home, and then in the next paragraph, an organization will also be eligible if it can demonstrate that it will meet the above criteria upon receiving an ASN or within a reasonable short time thereafter. But there is not explicit definition of what is a reasonable short time thereafter. So this is basically telling someone that for whatever reason is asking for an ASN and they don't intend to multi-home, to just lie. And nobody's going to verify if that's actually going to happen. Unless the Secretariat tell me, hey, we are actually verifying after 3 months or 1 year or something like that, which to now I didn't hear that. This is not really enforcing anything. So there is also a sentence that says it holds previously allocated provider independent address, and what this basically saying is, if I am a newcomer, I get IP addresses, never mind is IPv4, IPv6 or both, and then after, maybe just a second after, I get my ASN. Again, I think this is really artificial. So my take on this is that we should keep the multi-homing, or as a second possibility, say it has the need to interconnect with other ISs and get rid of any text that is somehow telling some people that really want to get an ASN for whatever reason, just lie to us. I think we need clarity. The rest of the text is not getting changed. And again, my take on this, reading all the conversation from proposal 114 was, this was the original intent. At that time, we didn't show it or whatever. I think it's the right way to go, to have clear text, and I don't see any disadvantages. There are different regions with different texts on this, but there are several which having basically what I am saying here. Very short questions, so we are recovering time from this morning.
Any comments or question? No? Yeah, Aftab.
Hi, Aftab Siddiqui. As Jordi mentioned, a reference to an old policy that was 114, if I'm not mistaken. I was the co-author of that policy, and exactly the same thing I proposed 5 years ago, and community decided that it has to be changed, and an intent to interconnect should be there. And after 1 year of multiple iterations, I made it that. So if we are going back to that one, well, I proposed it, so I support this one, of course. But the thing is, we came to this conclusion after 1 year of discussion. Before going forward with this one, I mean, I don't see any problem, to be honest. But if we go forward with this one, I would like to ask Secretariat if they are having problem, and this will resolve some problem. So it would be much better to understand if they are having any issues which this can resolve, so that would be great. Thank you.
Guang Liang Pen again from APNIC Secretary. We don't see any issue for this proposal. I think we can implement it immediately if you like. Sorry?
With the current policy, do you have any issue?
We don't have much issue with the current policy for the time being. Yeah, since yeah, but we still ask people like if they are intend to multi-homing in the request form.
But you don't verify it afterwards?
We don't really check them after that, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, from Sanjay from APNIC Secretariat again. Well, it's not that we have an issue, but it really depends on what the definition of multi-homing is, right? If you read RFC 1930, multi-homing is defined as having 2 providers. But we kind of make our own interpretation that multi-homing can also be 1 provider and 1 peer, right? This would make it more clear, in a way.
That's the reason I used the sentence, need to interconnect which other ASs. Because
RFC in 1930 is written a long time back, like 1996, so its definition of multi-homing is like a bit antiquated. Even I was suggesting that maybe you should just drop the last paragraph as well of using RFC 1930 as a reference, because it's a bit, the wording is based on some assumptions that's no longer a reality here.
In fact, I got exactly the same question when working in a draft of this policy proposal also for RIPE. The policy managers asked, is RFC 1930 updated? Because it looks like a bit outdated to our current best operational practices.
Thank you. Please.
Hi, I'm Yoshino Matsuzaki for myself. I support this proposal. If the network has own routing policy and would like to peer with others, yeah, it's okay. We can provide the S number for them. And it's not necessary to have multiple upstreams, right? So that's why I support this proposal. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well.
Just a minute. Maybe what Sanjaya is saying could be better worded, like instead of using it's multi-homed, is multi-upstreamed. I am inventing that word, but I think that will be a good understanding of what we are trying to say here. It's not necessary that a network has multiple upstreams.
Look, if we use the multi-homing definition as multiple upstream, that's still fine.
Yeah.
You know, if you do have two upstream, you definitely qualify for an AS number.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with mentioning multi-homing there. So although I do like LACNIC's ASN policy that just simply interconnect with more than one AS.
Yeah.
But again, this is fine, at least from me, but I'm neutral, of course.
Thank you.
As a secretariat.
Awal, please.
Awal, speaking on my own behalf, I strongly support this policy. Based on my operational experience, we run networks. We know that there is requirements for organizations who are not technically multi-homed, just want to do peer with one AS, may ask for an AS and should be eligible for an AS. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments or questions? Okay. You're doing it? Yeah. Okay. So we'll wait for the confer to go online. Do you need a help or? I've got it. You're not on the right one. No, it's not online. Make current. Beam. Now it's online. Okay, confer is good. So from the floor, who strongly support this proposal? Thank you. Who supports this proposal? She voted twice. Okay. Who is neutral? Who oppose this proposal? That's easy. Who strongly oppose this proposal? Even easier. We've reached a consensus.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we've got the last proposal. Aftab, please. Proposal 129, abolish waiting lists for unmet IPv4 requests.
And after we have got 15 minutes more time, because the earlier proposal we concluded very quickly.
That's not an issue, Chairs. Hello everyone, Aftab Siddiqui. I can assure you, well, I cannot assure you, but I can tell you this would be my very, very last proposal. Somebody else has to come up with the ideas. Otherwise, you'll see me again and again and again. Well, this is the title, Abolish Waiting List for Unmet IPv4 Requests. Well, I just added abolish because waiting list for unmet IPv4 requests is a heading in APNIC website, so you will find it quite interesting. So what I'm trying to do, so let me explain the problem first. Currently, if you are, let's assume you are a new member, new APNIC member. you apply for the resources, you justify your requirement, and you get a maximum of /22 as per the policy from the last /8. That is 103/8. That is fine. But there is another corresponding policy that says that you can get another /22 from recovered address pool. So what is recovered address pool? So there is a pool where you get the resources from IANA. So IANA recovered address pool, and then APNIC itself recover addresses, and they put it there. They don't put 103/8 recovered address pool in that pool. So anything recovered from the 103/8 goes back to 103/8. Secretariat can correct me if I am wrong. A nod would be fine. Anyway, so this is the current situation. It means if there are IP addresses available in recovered address pool, a new member can get up to a /21, that is 2/22. Right. So what happened is every year, twice every year, in March and September, IANA allocate addresses to all 5 RIRs equally. So in 2018, IANA allocated 3/22. So I have aggregated it, so there were multiple /24s. So up to 3/22 blocks to APNIC. And as of today, I checked it this morning, there are 697 members in the waiting list. And the waiting list is, and the top, it's on top of it, the member on the top of that list is from 28th of March 2017. So it's almost 2 years. So members are waiting for almost 2 years to get the resources. All right. So these are the numbers of allocation which APNIC has made from the recovered address block. This is IANA recovered address pool plus APNIC recovered address pool. In 2014, there were 1765. In 2015, 1963, 1410. Then dramatically, the number dropped to 214. Last year, it was 118. And so far in last 2 months, there were 24 allocation from the recovered pool. So there is a downward trend, but the list is growing, the waiting list is growing quite exponentially. So we just accepted a proposal to reduce the size of maximum allocation from /22 to /23. But if this is not changed, then it will just keep on adding. The members will keep on adding to the list, and they will never get the resources. So the proposal is just to abolish the list, remove it, done, gone. Once the APNIC receives IPv4 recovered address space from the IANA, or they recover it by themselves, then they should be treated under the same policy as last /8. Whatever they recover, they put it in the same pool where the last /8 address space are. Once the last /8 or whatever recovered pool is there is finished, means the point where APNIC is unable to allocate a requested and approved IP allocation, that is the time they can announce that we are out of IPv4 addresses and all policies are gone, and then they will just create a waiting list. And that would be the only waiting list. This waiting list will disappear. And this is the text. Abolish the current waiting list, and once the APNIC receives v4 recovered address space from IANA or recovered by themselves through closures or return, then it should be treated under the same policy as last /8. A waiting list will be created once APNIC runs out of resources in last /8, and same last /8 allocation policy will be applied to the waiting list, the new waiting list, not the one which exists today. So this is what I am proposing, and if you have any questions, then please go ahead.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Brajesh Jain here. I just wanted to sort of see clarifications. Like the waiting list is for the existing members who are looking for additional space. Are these members also qualified to get space from /1038, as you are proposing that the whole thing will be merged under this pool, whatever we may call it?
Okay, so can you just repeat the last statement?
No,
what I'm proposing is just remove the waiting list. Then if this proposal is accepted, there will be no waiting list. And a message will go to all the members who are currently in the waiting list that, sorry, we had a change in policy. You are no longer eligible to get more IPv4 addresses from us.
But these members were to get a chance of getting more IP addresses beyond with whatever they have. So they will lose that opportunity because they will not be able to apply under /1038 because they already have more than 22 or 23 in any case. So they will not be eligible to apply. This
Absolutely.
is what is the conclusion of this?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any member who already has at least /22 is no longer to apply for any resources.
Parhar, I think the proposal after the statistics which Aftab has given is starting to make some sense because the way currently recovery from INR are there is no way that the people who are in this waiting list can ever be serviced. So it is a foregone conclusion. So the earlier we realize it and make policy for that, I think the better it would be. So I feel that yes, the list can be abolished. And since we had taken, I think it was in Ho Chi Minh City when we were there for the meeting, we had taken a decision that the /103/8 pool is precisely to help new people come up so that they get some bit of allocations, they can start their businesses. And that is what the discussion was a little while back. Now, if that is so, and our earlier members already have their allocations, so whatever meager amount that does come in from INR we are able to recover, I think should go to this /103/8 pool only and help members who don't have anything to get whatever meager allocations they can get and run their businesses. Thanks.
Thank you. No other comment or questions? I've got a question. Say I'm number 1 on the waiting list actually, which I'm not, but when the pool is completely run out and you create a new waiting list, will I get back my first position?
No, anyone who already has a /22 or any address space from the APNIC is not eligible to get any more resources. The new waiting list is for the new members. Okay. If APNIC is unable to process the last application for the member, any other request coming in will just go into the waiting list. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Just for those members who doesn't have anything.
Thank you.
And there were some questions from the Secretariat. If my explanations resolve those questions and answer those questions, that would be, if they can confirm.
Well, yes, but this is just another question, implementation question from Secretariat, so Sanjaya from APNIC. The question is, when we have blocks from IANA or recover into the pool, now the single pool, right, which is only reserved for new members, should we prioritize finishing the 103 first, or should we, as we receive new recycled or cancelled space, prioritize to distribute that out first. You know?
I mean, it's up to the Secretariat how they want to
Okay,
do it.
good.
But my only, if you want to go something else, say something else.
Yeah, so if it's up to the Secretariat, we can accept that, or if you could give guidance whether you want us to finish the 103 first before reusing the space, it's up to you. I just seek some
I mean, the best
guidance.
criteria would be to finish the 103 first, but it's an operational issue. I don't want to comment on that and doesn't want to put something which Secretariat can handle easily in the policy. So it's up to the Secretariat.
Thank you.
Yes.
If there's no further, yes, there is.
So just a single question. So your proposal is stopping the waiting list, right? So first we need to finish the 103. Right? So meanwhile, if we receive or have a unused space from IANA or whatever, canceled or returned space a lot, then still we need to finish 103 first, right? Is it correct?
Yes. I mean,
And,
okay, if I understand correctly, that what I was trying to say that is, you're saying that if this move forward and we receive more recovered address space, then we should finish 103 first and then start allocating it from the recovered pool? This is what you're saying?
Okay. Then we just got the consensus about reducing the size of from the last /8. So we try to extend of using the last /8. Then after that, we reuse the recovered pool, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. If that clarifies, Sanjay, if that helps, okay. Right. But again, I would consider this as an operational concern from the Secretariat. If they think this is the best way, it's the best way. I didn't put it in explicitly in the text.
If there's no further comments or question, we're gonna gauge the consensus in the room then. No, it's not on. 129. That's another one. Yeah. Can we get the proper confer page on the screen, please? Okay. So, who strongly supports this proposal? Thank you. Who supports this proposal? Thank you. And who is neutral about it? Thank you. Who is opposed to this proposal? Anyone strongly oppose this proposal? And between the room, the confer, and the mailing list, we've reached a consensus.
Thank you, Judge.
So we think we have finished much earlier than our time. So if you have any question, comment, or anything, we can hear and we can discuss. Along with that, I must thank for the proposers. We reached a few policy reached consensus. But I'm wondering if I recall the presentation from JAIF, and if we find a way to recover the announced IP address, maybe they're being used, maybe not. But a huge pool actually being unused, but or not visible in the internet. So might be we need new policy to handle that. Thank you again. Ms. Brajesh, you want to make any comment?
Brajesh Jain, is an observation. I think all the policies for which you want consensus, you should keep them after lunch. Thank you.
Thank you. So we actually want, we don't want to make any consensus, or we don't want to reject. It's up to the community. So, I don't know, maybe the way we oriented it, we get consensus in the afternoon. Okay, we'll remember that in the next meeting. So, any more comments? So I'd like to give the mic open. If you have any suggestion, anything about policy proposals, or improving, or even the use of confer, we are still open to listen from you. So I can see Jordi there. Jordi, make you comment.
Yeah, well, I am going to send maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, a few emails in the list, splitting the different questions from my from the two policy proposals that I presented this morning that didn't reach a consensus. I hope to get a lot of comments now, not during the next meeting, so I can really work in new versions if necessary, or abandon them. It will depend on the community feeling in the mailing list. But I wanted to say something else, and I did the same exercise in the last APNIC meeting. I don't have any special interest in writing, let's say, 20 more policy proposals in this region, or even just 2 more. I just really want to get the community involved discussing in the mailing list. And I volunteer if people need help to write their own policy proposals. I don't need to be a co-author. I can draft text or ask the people the questions so they can write the text by themselves. So I am helping on that. But what we really need to work is making the people contributing to the mailing list since today, not waiting to the next meeting. That's the important thing. I don't say, because it's not true, that this community is more quiet than others. When you work in the different regions, you say that more or less the number of contributions is about the same. The community size is different, but it's not, this is worse than any other one or it's better. But in general, this is a problem that we have in all the registries, and I think it's important. The people need to realize that their business depends on policies. And policies here affect people in all the world, the same as policies in LACNIC or APNIC or RIPE or whatever affect people here. So please get involved, use the list to make questions. No questions are stupid. Everybody has different views, so don't be shy. Go to the list and participate. I don't want to get the people thinking that I am trying to just fill the meeting with my policy proposals. That's not my intent. I have a problem, and my problem is that when I see something that from my perspective is broken, I try to fix or improve it. Maybe from the perspective of other people it's not broken, but that's why we have different views. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordi. And from Secretariat, from the chairs, we are also encouraging everyone to participate in the mailing list. Make your comments. all the comments are important, so nothing is foolish. So say your views. And the mic is open, so anyone can jump in and make your comments. If not, then we can go for a longer coffee break until next session. And I thanks to the remote participants who have listened to us and making their contributions. And we really want to encourage that. We want more people connecting remotely. And that's from here. Thank you very much.